Hi everyone, this is the video for Tuesday, April 21st. Today what we're going to be doing is chunking a nonfiction text in order to find the central idea. And I'll explain what all of that means in a moment. So, the central idea is the most important idea in a nonfiction text. It's the main message of the text. It's always a complete sentence. A central idea is another way to say main idea. So if you know what the main idea is, you know what the central idea is. We talked about something similar in the last story. It was called theme. So the theme is something that we find in a fictional text, which is a text that is made up, like a story or a movie. And the central idea is the similar thing. It's the message that the writer is trying to teach us, but it's in nonfiction text. So a text that is an article, something that is real and based in fact. That's where we're going to find a central idea. So we want to think about how do we find the central idea of a nonfiction text? Here are the steps that we're going to take. First, we're going to chunk the text. That means we're going to break a large text into smaller pieces so that we can understand it better. It's harder to figure out the central idea when we think about a long article, but it's easier if we look at several different pieces. So here we have an example of the text itself. After we chunk it, we break it into different little parts. Then we're going to use the 5 W's to summarize each chunk. These are the 5 W's. They're those question words: who, what, where, when, and why. And remember, to summarize means to tell what that part is about in a shorter way. So maybe I'll have one sentence for this chunk, one sentence for this chunk. That's a summary for each section. How do I divide the text into chunks? Well, this is the article that we're going to read. And I think the most obvious way to divide it is by the subheadings. So I see that this has a subheading here, a bad situation, and a subheading here, a positive start. So the first chunk I'm going to look at is this one. And then the second chunk is going to be this part where it says positive start. After we read the whole text, we've summarized each chunk, that's when we're going to do steps 3 and 4. We're thinking, what is the most important topic, or what is the big idea in this text? And then, what is the message of the text? Here's what we're going to do today. We're only focusing on steps 1 and steps 2. We're chunking the text into smaller pieces, and then we're using the 5 W's to summarize each chunk. Let me show you what I mean. We're going to go to Violence Hits Home. There's a link in the classwork for today to get onto that textbook again. So when you see classwork, you're going to click on this link, or you may have already bookmarked it. Remember the username and password. Password is welcome with a capital W. 1, 2, 3. Sign in. We're going to find this article, which is called Violence Hits Home. We're launching the course, and we're going to find our textbook as always. It's green. And then to navigate to that text, I'm in the table of contents again. Unit 5, Cluster 2, Violence Hits Home. So I'm going to be reading this part, Violence Hits Home. I'm focusing on this first chunk, a bad situation.
A bad situation. Growing up in Oakland, California, Antonio Bibb knew about violence. His community has been plagued by murders, battles between gangs, and robberies. So when Antonio heard about an anti-violence program for high school students called Teens on Target, he was intrigued. He was in the 7th grade at the time, but promised himself that when he got to high school, he'd join the group. Antonio knew lots of kids who had lost family members to violence. He felt lucky he hadn't, and he wanted to do something positive. I felt like there was no way to stop violence, but I hoped I might be able to change things a bit, Antonio, now 18, says. He also wanted to show others that he was on the side of peace. Pretty much every adult on my dad's side of the family has been in jail, including my dad, Antonio says. Even when I was young, people were starting to judge me and categorize me because of that.
Okay, I'm going to start to use those 5 W's because I finished reading that chunk. So, in your documents and classwork, for each chunk, you're going to find a chart that looks like this. So, first, I'm figuring out who. Well, it was Antonio Bibb. That was his name. Where is in Oakland, California. That's what they mentioned. What? He wanted to join an anti violence program. That's what it was mostly speaking about. Why? Because he had witnessed a lot of violence in his community. And when specifically was he talking about? Seventh grade. So for each of the chunks, you're going to fill out the W's chart. Now I'm going to make sure I have all of these details and I'm going to put them together in 1 or 2 sentences. When Antonio Bibb was in 7th grade, he wanted to join an anti violence program because of the violence in Oakland, California. I have all of these pieces together in 1 sentence. That's my summary sentence for that chunk. Here's what you're going to do the same exact thing. You're going to continue to read from pages 409 to 411, and you're going to complete the 5 W's chart and summary sentences for these 2 chunks positive start and teen in turmoil. Let me show you exactly what the document looks like under classwork for today, Tuesday, April 21st. I'm going to click on this page, and this is what the document looks like. Violence hits home. You see, you have my example that I just showed you right here. Here's where you're going to fill in the chart for positive start and where you're going to fill in the chart for teen in turmoil. So you're only reading this chunk here, and then you're going, which finishes on this page, and then you're reading this chunk here, teen in turmoil. You are not reading the entire article today. You're just looking at these first 3 chunks of the text. All right. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.